All right, everyone. Today we're jumping into a classic, and I mean highly detailed theological vision of the final day of reckoning. This comes to us from the 17th century writer Thomas Boston. So let's dive right in and explore his blueprint for the end of the world.
I mean, think about that for a second. It's a pretty profound question, and it really sits at the heart of so many belief systems. It gets at the core of ultimate justice, accountability, and, what it would really mean for everything and everyone to finally be held to account.
So what we're going to do here is walk through this whole event step by step, just as the source text lays it out. This way, we can really get a handle on the internal logic and the incredibly powerful imagery that makes up this theological blueprint. Okay, so first things first, let's tackle the why. According to this framework, why is a final judgment not just, a possibility, but an absolute theological necessity? The source text really points to something we've all seen or felt. In this life, good people often suffer, while wickedness seems to go unpunished, even rewarded. This creates a kind of moral imbalance. Well, according to this worldview, that's what this final day is for, to finally, definitively balance the scales. All right, so now we get to the day itself, and it all kicks off with the dramatic and pretty sudden arrival of the judge. The text paints this really vivid picture, right? A world that's just going about its business. People eating, drinking, working, totally complacent and caught off guard. And then, bam, this spectacular sequence unfolds. A final trumpet blast just stops everything, and angels gather every single human who has ever lived into one place. So the point here is pretty clear. The judge is portrayed as being perfectly, and I mean perfectly, equipped for this massive task. There's just no possibility of error, no room for an appeal, and absolutely no way to resist the final verdict. Okay, so imagine this. All of humanity, from all of history, is gathered in one place. What's the very first thing that happens? A massive, stark, and symbolic split right down the middle of the crowd. And this isn't something that takes a long time. It happens immediately, even before any kind of trial gets underway. The symbolism is powerful and clear. The right hand is for honor and blessing, the left hand for dishonor and condemnation. It really sets the stage for everything that's about to happen. And what's so fascinating here is the emphasis on how final and absolute this sort-in is. I mean, think about it. In life, these two groups are completely mixed together. In families, in neighborhoods, everywhere. But on this day, nope. The separation is perfect for the very first time. All right, everyone's sorted into two groups. Now the trial can officially begin. And it all hinges on the opening of 4, let's say, mystical books that hold all the evidence. You can think of this first book as the master ledger. It's described as this perfect, flawless record of, well, everything. Every action, every word, even every secret thought. For the wicked, it's the indictment. For the righteous, it's a memorial of all their good deeds. And this is a really fascinating psychological element. The text says no one will be able to deny what's in that first book because their own conscience, now fully awake, becomes a witness for the prosecution, you could say. It confirms every single charge. So if the first book is the evidence and the second is the witness, this third book, it's the law, the undisputed legal code. It basically lays it all out, showing everyone why the sentence that's coming isn't just random or arbitrary, but perfectly lawful. But this last book, this is where things get really different. While those other books are all about actions and law, this one is unique. For the righteous, their fate isn't determined by what they did, but by something else entirely, by divine grace and whether their name is written inside. So the books have been opened, the evidence is all out there. The judge then rises to deliver the 2 final verdicts, and they are completely opposite and totally irreversible.
For those on the right hand, the verdict is one of pure welcome, honor, and inheritance. It's a sentence of blessing and total inclusion.
And then, from the very same judge, comes the second verdict, and it is the absolute polar opposite. A sentence of complete banishment, of curse, and of eternal punishment. Okay, and this is a really important kind of subtle theological point the text makes. Good works aren't presented as the reason someone is saved, but rather as the evidence of their faith. On the flip side, though, evil works are presented as the direct cause or merit of condemnation. It's a critical distinction. So the verdicts are in, the sentences are carried out. But what's the ultimate point of all this? What happens next on a cosmic scale?
Well, the text talks about this massive cleansing fire. It's not just about destruction, it's about purification. It's made to wipe the slate clean, literally, getting rid of every last trace of sin to make way for a completely renewed creation, a new heaven and a new earth where only righteousness can exist.
So, when you step back and look at the whole picture, you can see this narrative is really designed as a powerful teaching tool. But it has two very different messages depending on who's listening. For the faithful, it's about ultimate comfort and vindication. For others, it's meant as a final, stark warning. Look, this incredibly detailed vision from Thomas Boston is, of course, just one specific theological answer, but it plugs into something much, much bigger, something that shows up across countless cultures and times. And that's the deep-seated, maybe even universal, human hope that in the end, everything will be made right, that true justice will finally have its day.